Good morning, Aquarius. How are you doing? Thank you for coming to the channel. We're going to do a Celtic cross for you today. If you've watched any of these videos before and the sound quality sounds different, it's because I'm trying out a microphone. Because I was at the beach yesterday, it was very noisy, and I was watching back some videos to see even with my headphones on at number 10, volume, all the way up, I couldn't really hear myself when there was background noise, particularly in the mornings. I tend to talk slightly quieter in the mornings because it feels weird to boom my voice out when I know people are just still getting up. So let's see, and I hope this is all right. I've lost a little bit that doesn't make it go, so you're going to hear a bit of that, but hopefully not too much. And I hope you can still hear the cockerels and a bit of noise from around the woods, because it's really lovely here. That's what I was worried about you missing, because that's part of what I love about it. Anyway, so this is your internal world, and just to say also, this is also a reading. Let's make it for cockerels in honour of their voice potentially being, I'm sure you can still hear them, being slightly obscured. So we'll do cockerels and Aquarius, or roosters and Aquarius. If you seal that secret symbol, you might be coming to this reading as well. So for your internal life, how you're feeling, it's death. And how is that making you act on the outside? Oh, Seven of Swords. And what's in the basis of this reading? What's the root of this reading? The Hierophant. And something that's happened in the recent past. Three of Pentacles. And, oh, that was interesting, where a potential outcome, it's too many cards. We've got the Page of Cups, the of Wands, the Ace of Swords, the Four of Swords, and the King, and the Emperor. I'm going to take them. Why not? It's an interesting energy. I can't even begin to get my head around that. Let me mull over that. And in the near future, oh, on the floor. So that's not changed the position of the mic. The Page of Pentacles, Page of Wands, and the Nine of Cups. I hope I don't get the whole way through the video and find that it's not recorded properly, but anyway, we'll have to just go with it because I can't stop the flow. So, in your attitude, those that are turning up for this timeless reading, the Chariot. Lovely. And your environment. I hope it doesn't start raining on us. It's due to rain today. The Devil. We cover all the bits. Your hopes and fears. We have the hopes and fears with the Rooster, Cockerel people, and Aquarius for this timeless reading. Wow. The Magician and the Empress. How amazing. You're aiming high. And an outcome, please. Could we have an outcome? Please, could we have an outcome? Please, could we have an outcome? The Three of Wands. Wow. Okay, let's have a look. So, we have got 14, 15 cards here. And out of those, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 majors. So there's lots of big kind of life themes going on here. And they're quite sort of, all the majors are punchy, of course, but these ones are, they're pretty meaty. So that's really interesting. And they come mainly from not exclusively, but a lot of them in your attitude anyway are from the first part of the major arcana, just to note. So the sort of first part of that fool's journey. But anyway, not the death card, which we've got as your internal world at the moment. So something has died off and you are... Oh! I've forgotten the glasses. Let's see if I've got another pair. Sorry, that was a bit dramatic. Just because what I like to do is look... Come on. Oh yes, there's a little pair here. Very... I quite like to look at the cards and really, really, it's not that I can't see them. Oh, these are terrible. Where did I leave those glasses, I wonder? They must be by the bed. It's not that I can't see, but I like to have something really magnified so that I can really look at all the little images because they're so detailed. These have got big kind of scratches on them. They still work, so that's good. So I'm just going to look. I'm looking at the little skulls around this part of his reins, or the bridle. Skull and crosses, skull and crossbones. So that's sort of slightly piratey image. I've never seen that before. And the sort of sad-looking red bit feather that's coming out of the top of his helmet. People often have red on top of their heads here in the tarot. I'm just seeing who else might have. Let's see if we come across anyone. Don't think so. So, one king is dead. I can see a little red boat in the river, in the sea beyond, in a sort of pond or an inlet beyond, a little sailboat. And one king is lying dead, and he's got his head facing towards us and his little red shoes poking around up there under the horse. And there's the red sailboat, and there's the skull and crossbones. And we're waiting for a new dawn, and it's coming, unlike here today, because we're expecting a load of rain today. I don't see much sun. We're at dawn at the moment. Let's see. So this is you. You've accepted that there's been a period of your life that has given way. It's gone, and that you're now experiencing a rebirth. I always love this little kid here in the beginning, in the forefront, because she's totally unafraid, and she's got a little red rose in her hair, and she's carrying this kind of curly, like a snail-shaped instrument of some sort. And she looks defiantly. The bishop is pleading with death. The adult or teenage woman, I always see her as, is looking away. The king is dead, and the little child is looking defiantly, and as if she's about to raise whatever this instrument is up towards the horse and to death. It's really interesting. We have the pillars in the background that you see also on the moon card, but now we've got the sun coming up in between them, indicating this new dawn. So something in you has internally is waiting for a rebirth, or is having a rebirth, and I wonder what it is. Now the way that's making you act in the outside is really interesting. We've got the Seven of Swords. You might be feeling a bit disempowered, because this is the card of somebody. Quite often it turns up when somebody is very capable and understanding, potentially female, and they tend to give their power away. Maybe because this is a new start, you're not really sure about the parameters and your power in your own situation, because you're giving your power away. you're behaving. So he's on. You see, he's on a little stage. I'm really interested in these cards that have this double line, and I don't know. Maybe this means a way that you're acting, being on a stage. I usually say it's a stage of your development, or this too shall pass, or you're watching yourself. Maybe I do think there's something in it that you're, because it's like a stage. It's like you're the audience and you're aware of what you're doing. You're aware that you're giving your power away. Or, what did I say before? That's so funny. I liked that idea before. Red boots. Sorry, give me one moment. That's so strange. It's very unlike me to forget what I've said. Maybe it wasn't supposed to be said. I'll just carry on. So, a sense in which you're not owning your power at the moment because there's this new start. And, oh yes, it was, are you aware of this emotional or this behaviour that's going on? Is that what it is? Are you aware? Are you very much aware of that? Let's see, I must look it up. I'm stubbornly refusing to because I like to try and get there myself. And there are some tents in the background which I'm looking at which indicate some sort of military campaign. Although they're so jaunty and pretty, and in my other life I organise events, and I would love some tents like that at a party. I'm slightly obsessed with those kind of fun tents. And in fact, if you stick around, you know, this is a good reminder that the weather's turning. I'm not going to be in Italy forever. And when I go back to London, I have to find a place that I like, that feels consistent to because, you know, this channel's new, to film. So I'm sort of making it all up as I go along. And I was wondering whether a tent imagery might come into it because of that idea of gathering and a temporary space. I mean, I love being in nature. Anyway, I digress. Yeah, he's got a little red hat on, little sort of fez hat. We had a, oh, here comes the rain. We had a comedian called Tommy Cooper in England who was just amazing, and he used to wear a little, I mean, if you're not from England and you don't know him, look him up, because honestly, he's just so lovable, and I think it's true to say he might have died on stage in the middle of his act. Anyway, he played this really silly character, and he always used to wear this funny little red fez. In fact, I think his had a little bit of a black tassel coming down, but it's really reminding me of that today. So there's something almost comic coming through with this character stealing your power. It's something that we're not taking too seriously, whereas normally I would. It's not nice to give your power away. And maybe you're feeling disempowered by this new start, by the ending of whatever's happened, and you don't like to be on shaky ground. We can see these little figures in the background in silhouette, one with a wand held aloft, and off he sneaks. So a new start and a feeling of disempowerment, and in the basis of the situation we have the Hierophant. So something is being reorganised in your life based on what is morally correct, what would be the right thing, the really right, proper, organised way of doing things. We have a fair smattering of different suits here. Swords, 3 of those, 3 of wands, and 2 cups. So I don't think it's, and only 1 pentacle. So I don't think, because I was going to say it could be that you've just got married, and there's a sort of strange thing about marriage that I've heard. I've never been married. Do I need to clean the screen? I was at the beach yesterday, as I said, and excuse me, this is a bit silly. One moment. I'm only doing that now. And there was lots of sunscreen involved, so I usually smear it everywhere. So I was going to say, sometimes when people get married, there's a sense in which, I've heard this, I've never been married, that I've heard people say the first year of marriage is really, really, really difficult because you have to set all these boundaries in place, and it's almost like whatever happens in the first year might happen for the rest of your life, or as long as you stay with this spouse. So I've heard people talk about that before, that you can fight quite a lot in the first year of your marriage, which seems curious, but it's almost like you're sort of drawing the battle lines. That sounds very negative, but you know what I mean. You have to make sure you don't give any territory that's going to be something unacceptable in the long run. So I was going to say, with the idea of you internally having this rebirth, that's a bit like, of course, if you're married, you've walked into a new life, and it could be making you feel disempowered slightly because of those kind of battle lines that are being drawn, and that then the basis of the situation is the marriage. I mean, it'd be fascinating to know if anyone is going through that. But I don't think so, because we haven't got any. We've only got one cup, two cups, and they're not really relevant to that. And we haven't got any of the majors that suggest that kind of union. So what I think it is, the basis of the reading, is that you're trying to redress this balance in this new life. The basis of it is, how do we make sure you don't give any power away? It's really important in this new life, whatever it is, a bit like that marriage, but it's going to be something different. You now need to set your boundaries up and make sure that you're in a safe space for the long run, or for this next stage in your life. I think that's it. So, in the recent past, we see you cooperating to create something beautiful. We've got the merchant, the monk, and the artisan here. He's standing on his little bench. Another little red hat. So something that you've cooperated on. There's another 3 here, which is the Empress, the major 3. So it suggests a very sort of creative project that you've been involved in, and maybe this is your new start. Maybe you're collaborating with a group of people. It feels quite busy in terms of personalities. I think that could easily be it, but there's 3 people here. So maybe you've started a new project of some sort, and you're having to get the right boundaries in place. Let me see if there's anything else that jumps out about that 3 of. Really don't love these glasses in comparison to my nice red, silly red ones. Oh, I've got some new glasses coming today from the Italian optician. I mean, they really do things well here, I have to say. I don't know if anyone lives in Italy, is from Italy, is Italian. There's something about the way they make everything, down to a Hoover, to everything looks quite old-fashioned often, but it lasts forever. Their clothes, you buy a little purse, it's beautifully hand-stitched. It's really lovely. Anyway, shout out to the Italians. And I suppose I'm saying that, that's interesting, that kind of artisan working really well to make something really beautiful. I think that might have something to do, because it's strange for me to talk about that, that might have something to do with what you've been building here, collaborating on, because this will be a very beautifully made space. And another thing that's popping into my mind about this is that yesterday, scrolling idly through Instagram, I saw this such a lovely, it's a channel, I'll link it, I'll try and put a link to it, that does little sort of documentary stories, and they were suggesting it to me as something I might want to watch. And it was a man with a little red hat. He had this little red hat. It was actually, I think, a little bit more like his, but very like that, as if, so this is the amazing thing, and he was 91 when they were making this video. I think sadly he died, he's dead now, he was 95 when he died, but wow, what a life. And this man had single-handedly built a church or a monastery with some inheritance that he'd been left. Now, he'd wanted to be a monk, as far as I could see from the little clip. And then it had taken him something like 53 years so far, at the age of 91, to complete this quirky church that actually looked amazing, with no architectural degrees, no knowledge. And he had this little red hat. So it really chimed with me, because I saw it and I saw the church, and obviously subconsciously I didn't pick up on it. I'm so pleased I've worked out. But I was like, wow. I mean, I love watching older people who are engaged artistically in something. I really find that stimulating. I was at I just love, you know, I don't know, the Japanese lady that does all those polka dots, I'll put her name in. Or I was at a show in London recently. I went twice actually. JUDY CHICAGO, who's a New York artist in her 80s. Anyone who stays, like this guy, who stays engaged and passionate throughout their life, I find that really moving. I guess it's an aspiration, isn't it? I want to be that passionate when I get to that age, because there's something about the wisdom that they have and the fact that I mean, it's interesting, they're not sitting around imparting the wisdom, but they are, which you could do as an old person. I don't think it's necessary to be active and engaged. You could just be enjoying your retirement, and good on you if any older people are watching and that's what you're doing. But I think there's another, and then you can teach by those that you're around you, because I do think it's important that older people teach. I think we've lost the culture of elders somehow in the West. Certainly, it's more here in Italy. And in Italy, people don't tend to slow down as much when they get older, because there's all these kind of systems that hold them, the weather holds them in place. I'm going to move this a little bit, it's annoying me. The weather holds them in place, and that you can still be outside and socialising and sitting in lines along streets. But also there are things like the Circolo, which is monthly, I think, or bi-monthly. I think it's monthly celebration in these small rural areas. So we had one recently that I went and had a look at when my boyfriend was working in the night. I walked all the way up there through the little village. And they're like eating, dancing, socialising evenings where all generations are present. And so you're kept relevant. So I'm always interested in how one ages and how one keeps happy and relevant and able to impart. The elders are still very much kind of held in this community, so they're obviously, because they're socialising, they're imparting their wisdom, and people are a little bit more connected to that sense of age. And also Italians aren't so obsessed with kind of go, 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 certainly those in the countryside here that I've observed. I mean, they work hard, but they understand the benefit of rest. And it's built into the culture that you close all the shops in between, say, 12 and 2, and you might go home. A lot of people go home and have a meal and get into bed or lie on the sofa and have a siesta. So, sorry, all this roundabout way of saying that chap in the three of I'm so glad I put my glasses on and had a real look. That chap reminds me of this old 91-year-old passionately alone for 53 years building a cathedral or a church or a monastery. So here we see you. Yeah, it's a sense in which, and so because these two have these little hats, and because I was talking about marriage, there's a sense in which this might be a really long-term concern that you're embarking on, something that you want to do for the long haul, that's very much part of your, in this new life, that makes you feel very good, that's very correct for you. What stands out in the basis of the reading with this Hierophant? The gingham cloth, it's a her again for me today, at her feet, and this mudra, which I must look up, that she's making. The fact that she's sort of looking off the screen, yeah. she just talks about, or he, the Hierophant talks about kind of morally correct structures, arrangements, things in life. And we know there's something a bit wrong happening here, crossing you in this new life of your power being given away. It also says, be careful what you say, don't give too many details away, and also be careful of sneaky people. I don't think you should be too paranoid, but just be careful that there's not someone who's stealing your energy, not just your power, but your energy. Or that there's something in this new life that disempowers you, certainly. Let's keep going and see where we get to. So we've got this lovely idea of you cooperating with either different parts of yourselves or some new people in a project to build something rather grand and amazing. It's really lovely, and it reminds us of the Empress. It's the beginning of something really beautiful and new. Now, in your potential outcome, quite a busy potential outcome. Look at all those cards. So, Page of Cups, 7 of Wands, Page of Cups, 7 of Wands, the Sword, Ace of Swords, the 4 of Swords, and the Emperor. So we've got the Emperor and the Empress on the table. So in this new start, gosh, a lot of energy. So you're in love with something, with the Page of Cups. There's a sort of beguilement, and there's lots of communication, and then some very decisive thought, and then a period of assimilation, and then the sort of restructuring of things. He's got a bit of shades of the Hierophant in terms of what he looks like, in terms of the fact that he's only one card removed from him. He's 4 and Hierophant is 5. So as a possible outcome, seeing these concerns here about getting it morally correct, I think that you go from this original period of beguilement and sort of naivety and excitement to lots of communication, lots of back and forth between you and those that are involved in the situation. And then you make some clear decisions about what does and doesn't work for all of you. And then there's a period of kind of, right, we've done the negotiation, rest and allowing it to sort of trickle through and, get into everyone's system, and then the structure has been set up and things become a little bit solid in this view. These restructuring, let's see if anything's popping out. So on the Page of Cups, his balloony sleeves, how tightly he's gripping the cup, and the fact that he's on a stage, so maybe it's just a stage in the process. On the 8 of Wands, I love the background. It looks like a very happy place, so sort of happy communications and a kind of an aim that's very clear, that's coming from this lovely buoyant energy of the page. So sort of messages, because he's also about messages and this is about communication. So messages of love, messages of excitement and love and beguilement, romance, a sort of romantic view of things. And then the Ace of Swords, getting very clear about how we're going to start this new life, raising our sword of truth and cutting out any of the nonsense which might have been disempowering you. And then recalibrating. Anything else that stands out on this? The Ace of Swords. Less happy landscape beneath. A kind of slight, but it's harmonious characters, but colours, but it's less sort of fluffy, and the two bits of greenery coming down from the sword, partly a laurel leaf and partly something else that I'm forgetting now, the yods, and in the Four of Swords, my internet card, or Hilary Mantel's internet card. I don't know whether I've told you the story before, but in short, there's a wonderful book by Hilary Mantel called Beyond Black, and one of her characters describes this. It's about psychics. Describes this as her internet card, and I thought, what are you talking about? But now look at it again. He could be holding an iPad or a phone, couldn't he? And there's a sense of being plugged in, because these are hitting all his chakras, realigning all his chakras, and that window looks a bit like, it's very funny, the screen doesn't seem to be, that's all right. That window looks a bit like a device's screen. This is a 4 again, so we've got the 2 4s. Yeah, that's interesting. So we go from the lovely messages of romance and love to making some new boundaries, and then 2 4s, a rest and then a restructure with the Emperor. Stability. So I like that as an end. I think that would be, as a potential end, that would be really good. And then in the near future, conclusion to this particular part in your journey. And then in the near future, we've got the Page of Wands, another card of messages and youthful energy, and the 9 of Cups. Any other 9s? No. But another page. So we're still in the beginning of this new life here. And there are lots of amazing ideas popping into your head with the Page of Wands. He's very overexcitable and creative. He finds it a little bit difficult to focus. And there's an idea, these ideas seem to be to do with wish fulfillment. You know, you're feeling very creatively sparky and inspired, and it's making you very happy. It's almost a bit sort of intoxicating, this level of happiness, with this very bouncy character. He's a bit like Zebedee in The Magic Roundabout. Sorry, Winnie the Pooh. Winnie the Pooh, you know, the character that... sorry, Zebedee is from The Magic Roundabout, so you'll only know that reference if you're English and around my age. There was a very trippy children's programme called The Magic Roundabout, that all of the stuff that we grew up watching was so kind of... No wonder we all have quite good imaginations. I mean, they were so quirky and funny. Anyway, check out a clip. I'll put a clip to The Magic Roundabout. And there was a character called Zebedee in it who was... I think he... In fact, I'm getting it... He wasn't that fast. Yes, he was, Zebedee. He was all wow, 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 wow. He had a zip for a mouth, that's it. And this sort of funny face. A zip for a mouth. What a crazy, scary image. But it was a very upbeat programme. I'm mentioning it for a reason. The Magic Roundabout. Here we go round again in a slightly surreal... There's an air of surrealism. I think that's why I mentioned it, because there is an air of surrealism to this... sorry, something's going in my neck here. To this energy, youthful and crazy and intoxicated and wish fulfilling. The Tigger is the other character that he's really like, and Tigger is that tiger from Winnie the Pooh. He's always bouncing around at 1,000,000 miles per hour, and no one can quite get hold of him. There's an element of that energy suddenly coming, which is curious, because I can't imagine it wants to play ball with the Emperor particularly, or that the Emperor would have much truck with it. But this is coming in the near future. That enthusiasm of all those messages and the Page of Cups is bouncing through again, and we're back off thinking about in this new life, how many wishes it's going to fulfill, and potentially having our wishes creatively fulfilled. That barren landscape around him that he's making so much of, that red earth, that red fertile earth. So it's barren, and yet it sort of suggests something fertile about it. And his little hat and the red feather. So a red feather sort of reborn from, do you remember how in your internal world he's got a rather sort of raggedy red long feather that seems to have, that I think is a bit similar to the one on the Fool, and now we've got it regrowing again, a new sense of excitement, new life. Yeah, new life springing from this death, you know, like it's reminding me of Aboriginal lands. I was lucky enough to travel in with a really dear friend of mine through the interior of Australia. She works in Aboriginal art communities in that world. And we flew into Alice Springs and then drove through the red landscape. And you know, you don't take it lightly. You have to be prepared. You have to have a satellite phone with you, and you have to be good at driving on these funny dirt roads that you come across, because there are these sort of one or two highways only, and then most of the roads are kind of dirt that you're going into the communities in, and they have these huge juggernauts that come past, like, what do they call them, road trains. It's so mythic. It's like sort of some crazy film. And when one of these, I hope this is still working, when one of these starts entering your field of vision, you know that they're so large they can't swerve. So the rule is, if it's coming at you and you're in a slightly single lane situation, you have to pull off the road, because they can't. You just have to let them continue with their juggernauty progress. So that's interesting, and that's a bit like, that would be a bit like the Emperor energy here, because he's got that same sort of Aboriginal kind of landscape behind him. That's interesting. He's the juggernaut coming at us. That would be, or the road train. That's what it feels like. And you're the explorer, and you're going to have to jump out of his way a bit. So there is a sense of having to negotiate with this Emperor energy a little bit, but you're passionate and very excited, and he's very excited and happy too. So two very excitable energies, although he's older and sat on a bit of a stone bench. It's interesting, one of the pages is on a stage, so has self-awareness perhaps, or is being watched. And one of them isn't. He's too sort of in the moment to be thinking about what he looks like from the outside. That's interesting. And yeah, how happy this Nine of Cups looks. He looks really, really pleased in his big, dirty white robes. They're kind of slightly soiled, but not really. What's behind that curtain? Is that the exploration that we're on? But you know, it could also be messages of great excitement that you're sending out into the world, and wish fulfillment, and helping people fulfill their wishes, or working with people to fulfill their wishes. I feel like when I started talking about Australia, it was for another reason. I was lucky enough to go to Australia, and that red land. Oh, that's what I was going to say, is that with proper land practices in Australia, they do this controlled burning. So a few years back, when we had all those awful fires in Australia, there was some people that really felt strongly it was because the traditional land practices of burning, so anticipating these seasonal fires and burning back what was going to be a problem, was have been curtailed somewhat or not being used so much, whether it's because people have lost the knowledge or because they're restricted for some reason. I think it's restrictions. So, and then of course after a fire you get all this amazing regrowth. So I felt that was quite relevant because we know that you're in a period of rebirth, and here we have the new hope, the new shoots in that kind of red earth. And maybe the idea of Australia is important because it's coming into my mind so strongly. You know, when I think of Australia, I think of Aboriginal art and Ayers Rock where we went, Uluru, the proper name, and a sense of land wisdom and deep love and reverence for sort of songlines and land and the stories of your ancestors. So maybe something of that is coming into this. The true right stories, you know, coming from that Hierophant's perspective. So then we go into the 7 of the Chariot, the Mages. This is you in your attitude. You're managing, you're coping, you're off with success on a campaign. It's a bit split laser beam, it's a bit fast and furious, and there will be more than one thing you have to contain in your mind, but you're doing it, so that's amazing. And he's a card of success. He's very determined. He's got all these allies in all the sort of symbols that kind of relate to the previous symbols that have come before him in the Arcana, because he's number 7. He wears a little bit of all of those things in his card, in the symbology of his card. For instance, the High Priestess, the black and the white, being mirrored in the sphinxes. He's got these balloony sleeves. Who else had balloony sleeves? So, yeah, you're taking these messages of love, because I really saw his balloony sleeves, and you're taking them out into the world. That makes me think of Liz Gilbert's letters to love letters. She has this lovely thing where you write to love and you get an answer from love. Or you write to yourself as if you're love. And I've done that without knowing she was doing it. I stopped because my dog died, and it sort of has interrupted everything. But for a while I was sitting every day and writing to myself as if I was my higher self or love. I wasn't thinking of it as love, I was thinking of it as like a guide. And that's quite a trippy experience, because we've got all this thing about communication and messages and the 8 of Wands here. There may be something that you could do with that. I found it extraordinary. I mean, I ended up reading passages to my sister and saying, does that sound like me even? I mean, it just didn't have my voice, my words, the way I would write. It was really interesting. Maybe you could try that. Getting yourself into a sort of channeled writing position to get some new guidance for this amazing, epic new journey you're going on. So you're taking these morally correct. You're taking the car for a test drive. That's your attitude. You're like, come on, let's go. Let's try this now. I'm looking at a kind of hovering just in front of where the sun's trying to get out. Like a hovering, is it something that's coming from the tree, or is it like a very still hovering tiny little insect that I can see clearly because of the sun? It's got that feeling of it should be moving faster because I'm looking at the chariot. It's strange to see something so small seem so static. It's kind of almost floating in one spot, but it is moving around, but it's hardly, a bit like a bird of prey when they're about to, when they're hovering and they're about to dive down. That's what it feels like. Maybe that's what all your energy up until now has felt like, and now you're off because you've got this new life. I think you want to give it a test drive. The wings are really standing out to me at at the front. And this is a symbol of the yoni and the lingam, a sort of a symbol of male and female uniting. And we have got two pillars here again. So do you see those two golden pillars now that are similar to the pillars in the back of the death card where you started internally, where that sun's coming up? Now they are all golden, as if the sun is up. They're being reflected. I'm thinking about lighting today because it's sort of quite dull, and normally it's really lovely and warm colours by now. And here you are in those warm colours of a new dawn, the golden new dawn of light coming back after this death. And you're taking this new you, this new this new version of you out into the world. Yeah, it is like a version. It might not be a project. It might be that there's a new version of you that was reborn after a big experience, and now there was some sort of teething problems with it, and how one communicates the new version of you with the 2 pages, letting people know that this is you with that page, youthful energy, really spreading that word, and also letting them know that you've got that after your rest, you've got this new set of boundaries, that you're not going to be giving your power away, that there are some strong rules, but that you're in a happy place. That could well be it. You know, I kind of relate that, I think of this period of grieving that I've been going through, and you sort of decompose and rot down during that period, and then I feel myself in the process of coming back. Although I have to say, on the drive back from the beach yesterday, I was scrolling through my phone and I came across I was looking for another picture, but an unexpected picture of my dog when he was all young and vibrant and very like this little page. He was quite page of onesie always. He just had a naughty air, and it just, it hit me like a ton of bricks, and I had a good old cry. That's the annoying thing about these devices. Those memories they send us, I'm not sure anyone really wants to be hijacked by memories from the past. It's lovely when you go back and you look for them, but I don't know that I want to be pulled back into that space. I'm saying this for a reason. Like, I feel that's the energy of the Chariot that says, I want to go forward, I'm in this new life. I don't want to look back. I don't want to be hijacked by anything that was naive or sad or wrong, or, where I was giving my power away. You're now off. But in your environment, we have the devil. So let me cover their bodies. These 2 figures tied at the base of the devil's funny little chicken feet. Talk about rooster people. Oh, I hope you can hear that. He just cried out to us when we said that. So this is your environment. You're still tied to something in an obsessive way. There's still a sense of not being able to be unbound from one aspect of the past, I want to say. Or is it this giving your power away, or is it that you're just so enamoured and passionate that this is a kind of tipping into almost obsessive energy? Let's see what stands out. We've got the grapes that make at the base of the tail of Eve. They're coming out. It makes me think a bit of the 9 of Cups. So I don't know if anyone is having an issue of, in their excitement, drinking a little bit too much, because the card of the devil is a bit intoxicated. It can be addictions. Oh, excuse me. I'm seeing that Adam almost looks like the sort of the figure, I think, of the man. He almost feels like he's got his hand on the foot of the claw foot of the devil. All right, mate. As if he's sort of in cahoots with him. He's not actually got his hand on. I think he's just got his hand out, but it feels almost like a sort of a gentle alliance. So maybe it's just that you're very passionate about the area, but I would be a bit concerned about elements of working too hard or intoxication and addiction, because the Page of Wands wouldn't have good discipline, and he would be very interested in all the fun things in the cupboard, you know, the things to make experiences even more fun. And obviously the Nine of Cups has got all those cups, and he's got his little red cheeks as if he's been drinking too much. So just be a bit aware of that. I'm not sure if it's that. It could be it could just be that it's a very passionate new start. And the only bit that gives me cause for a little bit of concern is that they're tied to him. And he's this large figure that's looming over them, and he's a bit overwhelming to them, and you're in cahoots. I wouldn't want there to be shades of giving your power away to the situation. You know, we need to get, you know, because what the basis of the situation, let's remember, is the opposite of the devil. It's the Hierophant, where you get everything kind of organised and morally correct. So the devil doesn't give morally correct vibes, obviously. He's more about following passions and being tied to situations and them not being organised in the right way. But if you think of 15, the number of the devil, not in Roman numerals but in numbers form, 1 + 5 = 6. So there is a possibility for a good partnership out of this murky, slightly obsessive space. But it feels like there still needs a bit of clearing up to be done by this Hierophant here as we go into this. You know, we had the Emperor, and in the potential outcome, I feel that now, because we've added in this experience that's coming up in the near future of slight intoxication and excitement of the Page and of Wands and the Nine of Cups, I feel there is danger that this kind of situation that could have been all resolved into its proper way, so that it would be supportive of you, is now, because we've got the Chariot and the Devil, now feeling a little bit unwieldy. The fast movement of the Chariot and the unconscious drives of the Devil feel in a very different place. But in your hopes and fears, we've got the Magician and the Empress. So you're hoping to bring in the counterpart energy to that Emperor, who softens and supports more than him in a different way, who can bring all of this creative energy to a sort of sense of maturity, but you still really want to manifest with this Magician. You know, it's 2 cards of great creation, and that's what you're hoping and fearing for. You know, you're aiming high here, this kind of amazing alliance. What am I seeing on the Magician? Looks a bit like a woman to me today. The infinity symbol always. The white belt. Who else had a little white belt? The Page of Cups. He's got his hand in his white belt. Do you see that? And he was in your potential outcome. Here we've got the white belt in a grown-up form. So sort of bringing what you love into the world. The cup is really standing out. So he has a page, a cup, a sword, a wand, and a pentacle on his table. He has everything he needs, but the cup is really standing out, so it's sort of bringing what you love. And also that's very kind of, the love side of things really resonates with the Empress, who's like the great mother, the great creator, who brings things forth in sort of 9 weeks, 9 months, that kind of thing, and who is aligned to the seasons. I feel like he's working with her. I mean, what a powerful alliance. This is what you're hoping and wishing for. I'm probably a bit frightened of, because it's a juggernaut of an energy, like the Charity. It's like a sort of, it will recreate everything if you manage to tame these two energies. And a 1 and a 3. So the major 3 to that what started as a collaborative project is now you're bringing it into maturity. And I can see her bolster behind her, so the sense of support. And again, her hand resting on a knee, a bit like the Adam character's hand resting on the devil's foot. And sometimes when I see that, it's like, come and sit on my lap. You know, when you pat your lap, and when you're to a child and say, come over here. And how much beautiful landscape and nature there is in these. Hers much more natural, his sort of more like a bower and a garden, but hers, she's in the full countryside. So, but you know what is lovely about this alliance is the Empress is pure heart, and the magician can be a little bit focused on what he's bringing into life that he forgets to let the heart rule. But here we can see the heart strongly, so this is really beautiful. I think it might be when in your hopes and fears, because it's that's what the Hierophant would look like in your landscape. What would be morally correct for you now would be a sense of strong manifestation from the heart. I think that's what you've been working towards all this time. So in that potential outcome, we went from naive messages of love with the Page of Cups and all the 8 wands, that then got slightly sort of constrained by the idea of the Emperor, who wouldn't really be interested in all of that fluffy kind of emotional stuff. And then we introduced an element of more youthful energy and excitement, and the cups, the wish fulfillment of the 9 of Cups, into this scenario. And now we're working towards a different conclusion that, oh, I'm hearing a bird over there, that brings more passion into the situation, sort of allows a bit more rule breaking. And then you've reached a sort of hope and fear of, you know, having your passion aligned with a very heart-filled energy, the feminine ruler rather than the male. And there's still this graduated passion of all of this excitement. That's what we're aiming for. And it takes you to the 3 of Wands. And the 3 of Wands, he's looking out. Interestingly, look what he has on his head. So the Magician has that white band across his third eye, purity of sight. And look what he's also got, the white band. So isn't that interesting? Let me focus that a bit. It's not so clear here. I think you can see it. He's got the white band. So he's taking his magician energy and he's surveying and seeing, right. And unlike the 2 of Wands, where he's trying to work out what to conquer next, he knows what he wants. He's got his eyes set on the prize, this character, and he's now going to get there. So I love that. And let's look at the landscape. There are some boats. Sometimes people say it's your boat, your boat's coming in. And we had a little boat in that rebirth card. We had that little red ship here. And now they're turning up again in your final card, these little boats. And this golden seascape. So I feel like the rebirth is sort of finally taking shape. You've sort of jostled all these different energies. It's really beautiful. And you know how you want it to look now. And it's coming to you, or you're going to it. So I'm going to get some added comments, because it could rain at any point, but I think we're okay. It's due to rain all day. We had 32 degrees here yesterday, but I think it was more in the when we went to the coast. And now we've got rain, rain, rain again. It's an interesting season. So, could Enchanted Forest cards, could you add anything, focus us on what we need to focus on, or add to this reading, please? It's lovely. What have we got here? We've got the Seeker of Visions. He's a very romantic energy. I'm sure he's one of these pages. So they're wanting us to focus on part of the reading. I often find that one of the voices gets amplified when I pull these cards at the end, which is why I love doing it. And it's kind of really interesting. So these are the pages. Oh no, it's not. They're not. They are the knights, I think. The Seekers are the knights. And the Seeker of Visions. So in character traits, idealistic, romantic, visionary, poetic, gallant, follows his heart, Prince Charming. So it's the Knight of Cups. He's the sort of one up from the Page of Cups, who is in one of your outcomes. The Seeker of Visions returns every day to the forest lake, where once he caught sight of a woman more beautiful than his most beautiful dreams. And I'm laughing because a card dropped face down from the pack when I put it up against the wall just now to store it, which is that kind of beautiful woman of the dreams in the Weaver of Visions. So it's almost like she was making her presence felt. So this character, he returns every day to the forest lake where he once caught sight of a woman more beautiful than his most beautiful dreams. From that moment on, his heart was enthralled, dazzled by sunlight on water and confused by mist that rose as if by magic. It seemed to him that she transformed herself into a fish and disappeared. How funny. We're going to have to read her as well. And disappeared below the surface of the lake. He plays his harp and sings with the voice of an angel, hoping to lure her back, hoping for one more glimpse of the glimmering girl who captured his imagination. Oh, sun at last. If this card doesn't represent a particular person, it can mean unrequited love, a sense of spiritual purpose, or a desire for a more artistic life. So it's really emphasising the romantic Page of Cups energy and the beguilement of the Page of Wands a bit with the Nine of Cups. A sort of what you need to take into this new life is a sense of romance, is what I feel. And how funny that they're not all in order. It's not that I've just left the pack. I've been shuffling these for days. She obviously, I think, probably is one of the next people in the... Yeah, she is the next person. That this is the person he's singing with. She's the next suit, so she's the Queen of Cups, who's very like the Empress. And this is who I think he's dreaming. Dreamy, intuitive, psychic, empathic, emotionally sensitive, graceful, subtle, a bit mysterious, devotes herself to those she deeply loves. She's a shape-shifting enchantress, and the sacred lake is her place of magical transformation. So I'm going to put both of them there because I want you to remember that one is being sung to. So it's like a kind of love song. The Emperor and the Empress are here. There's a love song between different parts of you. The water's surface is a boundary line between the worlds, a threshold where she crosses from one state of being to the other. The weaver is most herself in the watery realms, though she can sometimes be seen amongst the trees if you look quickly enough. Whether as a woman or as a leaping salmon, she acts on instinct, surrendering without question to the yearning of her heart. She is the elusive one, the glimmering girl. She is love at first sight. She is poetry. If this does not represent a particular person, it can mean a solution that comes through imagination and intuition rather than logic or analysis. Listen to your heart and trust its guidance. So it's really, these cards are really wanting us to remember in this new start that what will keep the Hierophant, what will keep you in your new correct mode is to remember to bring all this heart energy with you. Don't let it get squashed by sort of that cutting down all your naive enthusiasms, all your rough at the edges bits, all the bits of you that are beguiled and youthful and slightly naive. But that enthusiasm is really important. And I think that's where your power might get stolen in this new start. I think that's it, is if you become too under the thumb of the Emperor's kind of energy and you don't remember to bring all the parts together and let all the kind of bubbly enthusiasm and the poetry and the mysticism into the process, because that's really, really important. And then let's see what the Shining Tribe Tarot cards have to say. This is Rachel Pollock's deck, recently reissued. One came straight out, and they're really gorgeous, based on the tarot. 3 of Trees, so another 3. I think it's the 3 of Wands. See, they always have some sort of really strong connection. So it's her version of the 3 of Wands, which is your outcome. That's what her wisdom, her deck wants us to think of. So let's have a look. 3 of Wands, 3 of Trees. They're lovely colours, aren't they? Oh, they're amazing. They're so vibrant. They've got the pinks of the Page of Cups in them. Wow. Look at those. Arms open to flowers, their bark becomes faces. We welcome their visits, lay mud at their places. The web of their leaves, like delicate lace, is a comfort in sorrow. Let me just put the glasses on. The central image in this picture, whom I call the grandfather, derives from a photograph of a Manitokan, a spirit image formed by a tree by the Ojibwe people of Canada. Forgive my pronunciation. Sometimes the Ojibwe people would take logs or posts and do nothing more than carve marks for eyes and a mouth. At other times they would dress Manitokanak, plural, with elaborate clothes, even hair and beards, and carved detailed faces. In a book on ritual, The Power of Ritual, I suggested that people might want to create something like a Manitokan for themselves, using their own symbols and cultural images. Creating such an object is a way to make your tarot practice more real, especially if you draw the card in a reading and want to invoke it. It's a good way to involve your children in a ritual practice, since children will enjoy gathering and choosing materials and decorating the tree or branch. Let's put a pin in that. I think that's a good idea to do that. The form of these figures, the figures on this card, invites comparison to modern scarecrows, where the farmer seeks to drive away birds. Where the farmer seeks to drive away birds, the Ojibwe invites spirit beings to enter into these tree forms and give life to the material surroundings. Possibly scarecrows derive from older European creations such as corn dollies or green man figures, which bless the crops in the spiritual world as well as protecting them in the physical. The tree suits remind us how photosynthesis transforms the fire energy of the sun into organic growth. Fire energy makes me think of the Page of Wands, and also that idea of bush burning in the Aboriginal settings in order to allow for new life. With humans, the process goes both ways, for just as sunlight becomes physical energy in our bodies, so the sacred imagination, sun's coming, transforms natural objects into spirits. This card is a celebration filled with laughter of grandfather. And you remember how I was talking about the elders at the beginning and saying it's really important that that wisdom is integrated. So we've got the young and the old wisdom together. He welcomes and protects us with open arms. The slightly comical aspect of the smaller figures indicates delight and no disrespect. At their feet, the mixed colours of wild grasses and flowers reminds us of the varied gifts from the earth and the sun, and the divinatory meaning is pleasure, abundance, laughter and creativity. I just love it. Both of the cards that came to cap this reading wanted us to pivot back to that page-like energy. one was talking about the Page of Cups in the Enchanted Forest ones, that romance, and the other was, I think, talking about the laughter and the passion and the imagination of the Page of Wands. Don't suppress it. So when I was saying, oh, the devil's turned up, I think there's an element of the devil energy you don't want to squash out. He's the sort of enthusiast. I don't want to see you become bound to it, but at the same time, all this giggly, youthful, exuberant colours. And I think, you know, it might be a good practice. I've done it before where you find, I'm always, I don't know about you, but when I go for walks in the countryside, I'm always picking up bits and bobs. I'm like a little child or a magpie. And I've made a green man before for my park. I've woven bits of willow that had fallen off a willow tree in the local park into a frame, and then I've found moss and things and made a green man and put it on one of my favourite trees in the park where I used to walk the dog every day, to welcome spirit. I didn't really think of it like that. I thought of it that I was paying homage to those old ways, but actually this gives it a new meaning for me. I was welcoming spirit into that figure. I was welcoming some more magic. How lovely. What does it say? Pleasure, abundance, laughter and creativity. That's what you need to be thinking along the lines of. These aren't Three of Cups, are they? No. Let me just look. They're definitely the ones. They've got to be. So the birds are the swords. I always forget this. Stones are pentacles, obviously. And then what is the cups? Trees. Rivers is cups. Yeah, these are the Three of Wands. So it's saying what you're looking for, what you've alighted on in that image here, and where we've got to at the end of your reading, is that. That's what you're looking for, is fun and abundance, creation, laughter, and to bring spirit into things. And remember, he's grandfather, so sort of bring some wisdom from the elders, because that made its way into the reading at the beginning as well. Welcome their visits, lay mud at their places. So what they're doing is welcoming in the spirit. Invite spirit beings to enter into these tree forms and give life to the material surroundings. Your ships that are coming in are welcoming in all of those youthful energies. That is going to be your correct path. That is your correct path in this new life, is to align with those kind of whimsical energies. And it's not to say you can't give them great shape, but maybe part of your process is to express yourself like that, because we see the Page of Cups with the Eight of Wands. Maybe you're meant to spread those messages. Maybe you're a poet. Maybe that's it. Maybe you're a poet or an artist, and these are your new creations, and they must be the spirit must be welcome. You know, you could be a sculptor, and you might be welcoming in the spirit into the form of what you're making. That could be it. Or a painter. Oh, look. Oh, wow. Did you see? Oh, there was just on that, a jay just arrived and shouted at us. I so hope this mic didn't. She came and sat right there, looked right at me and shouted at me. And the jay, I can't remember what they call them in Italy, but the jay is, oh, it's so beautiful. The jay is a bird of communication. You know, when you find those little feathers that have got light blue and dark blue stripes on them, they're really tiny and they're beautiful. They're like a little message from one of these wands. And the jay is the bird that talks. We always laugh because I never shut up, hence finding this as an outlet. And it's my bird. It's definitely a bird I relate to, but I think that's it. When I said maybe you're meant to be putting those messages out into the world, the jay came and sat and looked right at me and squawked at me. So I think that's exactly it. Joyful, abundant, open-hearted, messages of youthful enthusiasm. That's what you're here. That's what your new start is for. How amazing. I'm tempted to try adding one more pack to this deck, and this might not work, in which case we can skip on by, but let's have some trust in them. I just haven't worked with these much. These are the Lua Tarot. That I don't know that you can get them anymore. I got them on Etsy. Lua. They're really lovely. See if there's anything the Lua. Is there anything we want to add to this beautiful message here? The Chariot. The Chariot. So she's working with us too, this deck. Oh, well, I'm pleased I did that. So that's reminding us that this is your attitude. And in this card, she's very much a female with two horses. Okay, let's compare them. But the thing that stands out most in this card as your attitude as you race forward into this new life is the canopy of stars. Is like kind of have your mind on the inspiration. And she's got the moon, the new moon in the background, which suggests hints of, I mean, the new moon is usually at the feet of the high priestess, but the fact that she's there, oh yes, sun, come out. God, she's beautiful, and she's moving forward. She is holding her reins, whereas usually the Chariot doesn't. But the things that are standing out to me really loud and clear are this beautiful star canopy, and above her head like a kind of crystal pendant that's hanging there. That's almost like one of those pendants I've got at home where you ask questions. And the water behind her. I mean, it's almost like she's what's coming at us. So you're riding to meet her. And maybe that is part of your new reality as well, because she's fully got all her mysticism included in. And look at the little symbols. So we've got the symbol for the fish, for Pisces, which reminds us of that message of the kind of water, the boy singing to the water and the nymph in the water, the kind of mer woman in the water, that poetry, the mysticism, the moon, and then the triangle. What does that mean? I'm going to look those up if it doesn't say it in the little book. And she's got an elder kind of energy to her. Oh, I'm so pleased I dared to do that. I was so worried it was going to be something that would slightly take us off course. I should have had more trust, because they usually work. It's just I hadn't used this card. The exciting things, guys, is if you stay with me, if you've bothered to stay through this whole reading, I have so many decks at home, and they're all going to find their way onto these. I mean, kind of crazy amounts. I love them. I love all the different ways of looking at the imagery. So we can really dive into those. I might do a kind of thing about some of my decks at some point. So the 7, the child of, so this one she calls the child of powers of the water, the lord of triumphant light, Cancer. Journeys, receptivity, will, ambition, duty, vows, purpose, victory, triumph, mastery, skill, shelter, home, protection, the body as a vehicle for spirit. This charioteer charges forth on a quest, travelling with the momentum of will, ambition and purpose in her desire to reach her goal, and at the same time she carries the empathic and sensitive energy of Cancer, which is ruled by the emotive moon. The waters of receptivity feed her intuition. She drives a chariot, her shell of protection. How lovely. Symbolising her body as a vehicle for her spirit. Black and white horses represent opposing aspects of her being that she harnesses to propel her forward. A star crowns her and adorns her curtains, showing cosmic forces at work. I just love that, because the waters of receptivity feed her intuition. So at the same, even though she drives forward purposefully to get to her goal, she is carrying this empathic, sensitive energy of Cancer. And that's what all of the cards wanted to point us to at the end, which is your true path in this rebirth is to balance this punchy energy, the punchy energy of the magician, with the Empress, the punchy energy of the Emperor with the Page of Cups and the Page of Wands. And the Chariot, that is such a fast and furious card. We're wanting to remember that as we move forward, we drive forward, keep that soft, emotional, microphone there, energy in place. And remember that what you're looking for is the spirit in everything, like those tree figures, like those scarecrows. You're wanting to search for the spirit, and there are cosmic forces at work, the stars. And I'll look up what that little triangle means, the little downward. I think it's the sign of the Empress, isn't it? It's like, or the goddess. I think it is. I think it's that sign that means goddess energy. I'll look it up and I'll put it in the notes. Gosh. Thank you, Aquarius. Thank you so much. I hope that all recorded. Let's check. And I hope you got the J sitting there shouting at us at the end. And thank you for stopping by, and I'll see you again.